Tonight on Free Minds TV, we'll be talking about an Indianapolis police officer who used to make a lot of DWI arrests, but apparently he killed a couple people while he was driving under the influence. Also, a city digs up an old law and bans pinball. We'll tell you more. And we'll be talking about some recycling and some other stuff I'm not too excited about. That's coming up tonight, Free Minds TV.
It is episode 172 of Free Minds TV, where we challenge you, the viewer, to think outside the box. It is Toby here with you.
And you could probably tell that the intro is my least favorite part to do.
He's unexcited about recycling. Let me tell you, this is a recycling story we're going to be getting into.
That was the one I saw that I wasn't... I don't know how to plug it as recycling.
Nick,
that'll make people stay tuned.
In Philadelphia, people are getting fined for not recycling. We'll be getting into the details.
It's not a sexy story to come in with.
Oh, but there's actually, it kind of is when you get into some of the silly bureaucratic things that they hire their bureaucrats to do, like sorting through people's garbage.
Not a sexy hook at the beginning. Ooh,
no,
recycling.
Not like last week when we had or was it 2 weeks ago, where there was the virgin who was getting tax money to go hire a prostitute.
That is a hook. That makes the viewers want to stay tuned.
Yes, I guess
recycling. Most of you probably.
Digging through garbage isn't quite as exciting. But this pinball story I'm going to get into, I find that very exciting, but something a little bit more grim, sad, and hypocritical of what some so-called law enforcement officers do. A sadder story to start out the show with. Take it away, Nick.
Okay, well... an Indianapolis police officer who was once honored for his prolific arrest of drunk drivers I like how they jumped to the money first, could cost the city more than $1 million in legal claims stemming from a fatal crash in which he is accused of drinking and driving. Mothers Against Drunk Driving expressed disappointment. I don't know if that's actually what they said, but that doesn't seem like it's worded very strongly. If it was a normal person, would they just express disappointment when they kill somebody, when they're apparently driving under the influence? Now, let's see. The officer is David Bissard. Now he faces charges of drunken driving and reckless homicide after his cruiser crashed into two stopped motorcycles, killing one man and injuring two other people. And the city's warning they could face a lawsuit. Well, who cares about $1 million? You killed somebody and wounded two more.
But he's such a good man. Mothers Against Driving, Nick, had given him awards, multiple awards, for being such a great officer and really cracking down on people who were driving under the influence. I mean, he was recognized by MAD multiple times for being
he was
such
busting
a
other
brave
people for
and
drunk
courageous
driving,
officer.
But apparently, at least in this case, I would assume that he had done it before. Most people who get caught drunk driving or have a drunk driving accident, it's not their first time.
Yeah, and on average, it's about 900 times before you're busted. 900 times being drunk behind the wheel before you're busted.
And if you're a cop who's decorated for busting people for DUI, the odds of you getting busted are pretty low.
Especially while you're on the shift. Apparently, he was
in his cruiser when this happened. This wasn't
on the clock, being paid to go around busting people. I mean, he was in the line of duty, so to speak, when he decided to drink and drive.
Yep.
Hypocritical. The absolute definition of a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
that's the definition,
it goes to show that police aren't really any different than everybody else. They have policing powers, but they're human beings like the rest of us, and some of them drink and drive. There's an update to the story, because the story is a couple weeks old at this point. Alcohol-related charges against an Indianapolis officer accused of causing a fatal crash may not hold up in court, according to the local news affiliate there. Officer David Bissard, a 9-year veteran of the department, was on duty when he plowed into a group of motorcyclists at a red light on August 6, killing Eric Wells, age 30, and injuring Kurt Weekly, 44, and Mary Mills, 47. According to the probable cause affidavit, Bissard registered a .19 blood alcohol level about 2 hours after the crash when he underwent a department-required blood draw, so presumably his blood alcohol content was significantly higher when he was involved in the crash. A motion filed by the defense and some legal experts are now questioning whether the blood can be used as evidence against Bissard in a criminal investigation. Both Indianapolis Metro Police Chief Paul Secchi and Marion County Public Safety Director Frank Straub have stressed that no one at the scene of the crash, including members of the executive staff, believed Bussard was drunk. He probably wasn't incredibly drunk if his blood alcohol was that low 2 hours later, but I think there's still some question about whether he was legal to operate.
Double the legal limit even 2 hours afterwards, Nick. I mean, if no one could detect at all.
Oh, wait, that's a .19.
Yeah,
that was a .019.
If he's pretty drunk.
Oh, wait a minute. That's wasted. He was wasted.
And if no one could tell he was drunk at that point, that means either they weren't paying attention or he's a seasoned alcoholic, meaning he does this on the regular. I mean, if you...
Well, even if you're a seasoned alcoholic, it's usually fairly easy
but you
to
he could present himself in a way that didn't his appearance.
Even a lot of alcoholics. I mean, you're talking about being 5 or 6 beers in. Even most problem drinkers will be they'll be feeling it at that point.
Isn't it with fatal accidents? I thought they just automatically tested blood right away.
Well, they've talked about doing mandatory blood draws in some states for motorists. I'm not too thrilled about that because you can still refuse a breathalyzer, but. Apparently, the issue here is that it's Indianapolis Police Department policy to draw blood of officers involved in crashes, but those results can only be used for interdepartmental purposes.
So they can fire him for this?
Yes, he's suspended pending termination. Hopefully they'll be able to make something stick here. I mean, I would think with a regular motorist, they would force a blood draw.
Yeah,
I find it. I won't say that anybody's lying, but it seems a little bit fishy that none of the police involved thought he might have been drinking. With a blood alcohol level now that you pointed out, that high 2 hours later.
It's pretty high. It's wasted.
It's wrecked. And that's 2 hours after the fact. He would have been wrecked.
Yeah, see, my thoughts are we should be holding police officers who go around and get paid for a living to bust people for drunk driving.
And everything
else. We should be holding them to a higher standard, not a lower standard. Why is it that these people, I mean, you should be nailing this guy for it. Mad should be more than disappointed. They should be outraged if their heroes go around killing people while they're drunk. I mean,
he is being charged like everybody else at this point. We'll see if the charges stick. I don't think. I mean, if they don't have probable cause, then they don't have probable cause. But
they treated him differently than they would have someone else at the accident scene initially.
I don't think any court. I don't think any court would look at a situation where you have somebody who is at a blood alcohol content that high, and say that they're even. I mean, you could just ascertain that they're drunk from the smell and the observation. You should be able to.
This guy,
you didn't even need a blood draw.
I don't know what he was going to the scene of, but he was going to he was on his way. He was en route with his canine dog, presumably to bust someone for drug use. How can a police officer, any police officer out there, how can someone live with themselves if they themselves are high on drugs? Going and busting other people for using drugs.
Not only using drugs, but endangering other people by operating their cruiser while they're drunk.
Alcohol's a drug. How can he be high on drugs, operating a cruiser, while he's being paid by the taxpayer dollars to go around busting people for drugs? Seems... I don't know how he would live with himself. Anyways... We do need to move along.
Facing up to 20 years in prison.
Hopefully he'll actually get some of that if they haven't botched things too much by giving him preferential treatment at the accident scene. Anyways, moving right along, we have to talk about pinball. Because apparently in some places it is illegal to play pinball and have pinball machines. And such is the case in Beacon, New York. An anti-pinball law shuts down New York arcade. Lawyers from for the town of Beacon, New York, found an old law in the books that said pinball machines are against the law. Now they're using it to shut down a retro arcade museum that has had a few too many noise complaints. Apparently, pinball was outlawed in most of the country's major cities for a large chunk of the 20th century because politicians thought arcades were mafia-run rackets. And apparently, they had to pass laws making pinball illegal. How before my time, I guess. The mayor has said that he wants to help the arcade stay in business, but people have been complaining. So what's he supposed to do? He has to shut them down, Nick, because there's been a complaint. And there's a law in the book that says no pinball.
Well, they could have that law repealed.
How? Or just not enforce it. There's all sorts of laws they're not enforcing. They didn't enforce it up until
Well,
now.
I mean,
it's a museum, Nick. Clearly, if there's a museum of pinball machines, it was legal for a while, and they weren't enforcing it. So, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's better. I mean, when you let them pick and choose, then they can pick and choose selectively. Like when they enforce drunk driving arrests.
Oh, they have to.
That's what we were just talking about.
Nick, they have to pick and choose because there's millions of laws on the books. They couldn't enforce them all. There's too many laws to enforce. If they enforced all the laws, everyone would be behind bars, including themselves. They have to pick and choose. You can't enforce on all the laws. There's too many on the books. People are breaking laws every day that they don't even know about. You could start reading the laws today, speed read through them, and you never have time to finish them. There's millions and millions of laws on the books.
I'm sure most of our viewers have committed a felony, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah.
But
like play pinball in New York. Have you ever been in New York playing pinball?
Well, I don't think that's a felony.
I don't know. Okay.
I doubt it's
broke the law.
It's not a hanging offense. But the more appropriate thing to do, it seems to me, is to actually take the bad, stupid laws off the books. If you have so many laws on the books that you can't enforce them all, should be a sign that you have a government that's far too big, that's criminalizing a range of activity that doesn't belong in the judicial system.
Like pinball? You can't play pinball? You're going to put that law in the books? I also really hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it. It gets under my skin. It's a pet peeve of mine when laws are enforced against their spirit. Now let me tell you what I'm talking about. In this case, there's been a certain arcade museum, I guess, who's had some noise complaints. Some hoodlums hanging around, I'm guessing, in the parking lot. Getting a little too loud for the neighborhood, so some people have been calling the police and complaining. Now, instead of going after the place for the noise complaints or disturbing the peace or whatnot, they've dug up through the books this old law saying pinball is illegal, and that's what they're going after them for. That's not what the law was written for. Not to say that I agree with the law and why it was written. I think that blanketing a certain industry just because mafia might be involved in it is asinine. But that's not what it was written for. It wasn't written to crack down on noise complaints. You have laws on the books for that. You shouldn't be digging up other laws to go after certain other behavior. It irks me, Nick. It irks me. Going against the spirit of the law. Not to say that the spirit's good.
No. That's the difficult thing with laws, though, is that, the spirit of the law is more in the eye of the beholder. What the law actually says, if it enables them to prosecute you for it, then...
What can I get them for?
It usually doesn't say, we only mean this to be used this way.
But this is a perfect example of so many laws being on the books that they can just say, we don't like this particular business.
Oh, they can find a reason to shut most places down.
Right. They can just dig through the books, wherever it is, whatever industry you're in. They can find something, some reason to shut you down. Because there's so many laws on the books, you're bound to be breaking one of them, or several of them. All right, when we come back, Nick, we are going to be talking about a raid in an unkempt, disorderly apartment.
Actually, that's not what exactly.
Well, I guess I'll be learning because I've only got the headlines here. We're also going to be talking about this boring recycling program. I find it to be very exciting, but Nick thinks it's boring. We'll be getting into those stories.
I do recycle.
I don't.
You're excited about it, and I'm not. Maybe that's to say.
It's because I haven't gotten into the spirit of recycling yet. I guess these stories fascinate me. Well, we'll be talking about that. Stay tuned. This is Free Minds TV.
Am I on? Am I on?
You're on.
Do I talk now? Do I talk now? I'm Gardner Goldsmith.
She's here.
And
I think she's up by where they're doing the show.
You're watching Free Minds TV. Open your mind, baby. Tell others to do the same.
And welcome back to Free Minds TV. It is Toby here with you.
And Nick.
Log on to our website, freemindstv.com. From there, you'll find all the archives of the show, the radio shows, ways to contact the show, help us out, send us some money, vote for the show on Podcast Alley. It's amazing how much stuff is up there. You could go on there and just be busy for weeks and weeks and weeks just watching old archives. It's all up there, all the way back to episode 1 of Free Minds TV back in 2006, all for free, freemindstv.com. All right, Nick. Apparently, you told me during the break that a disorderly house isn't just a messy house. It's got some other shifty implications as well. It just doesn't mean that you have clothing on the floor. It means that you have drunks, and maybe drugs, and prostitutes on the stoop, even.
Perhaps. Coming from Cedar Rapids. Police in SWAT gear busted through a door and searched the Cedar Rapids home for drugs Thursday morning, but came up empty. At least 12 officers surprised the tenants at 1135 33rd Street Northeast when they arrived around 7 a.m. with a narcotics search warrant. Sergeant Christy Hamblin, a police spokeswoman, later confirmed that nothing was seized from the house. No one was taken to jail, but the tenants of the house, Justin Davis, 28, Erica Lewis, 26, were charged with disorderly house and signed a promise to appear in court, police said. No one was injured during the raid.
Now that's where I quit reading the story, Nick, and I said, now this is a fascinating story. You can get charged for a disorderly house? But
in Cedar Rapids, there's a city ordinance that says that a disorderly house is a building or room where someone resorted to for illegal activity involving drugs, alcohol, gambling, prostitution.
But nothing was seized during the raid, so how do they know that it was used for something?
Right.
And no one was arrested. So how can they possibly know that it was used for something illegal?
It's unlikely.
Sounds like one of those catch-all laws, like disorderly
well,
conduct.
the one thing it could be is the tenant here, Davis, who claims the police busted in through the front door. That's probably true. It usually is with drug warrants, at least in some cities. Said officers held him at gunpoint, and in responding here, he said that, well, first he said, "What do you think my neighbors think about me now?" Apparently he feels his character has been assassinated, and he expressed his discontent with that. Well, I could imagine he'd be kind of pissed. Doesn't look too good, especially if they don't find any drugs.
Well, it's actually better for him if they find no drugs. If they hauled him off in handcuffs, he might look a little bit worse to his neighbors.
Well, according to the article,
Right?
yeah, I mean, Davis said he is on probation, and it would be stupid for him to be involved in drugs. Went on to say that they should make sure they have more concrete evidence before they kick in someone's door.
But you know, there's thousands of these no-knock raids that take
Right.
place
And it's
every
not.
day.
I shouldn't say it usually is a no-knock raid, but many departments exercise them, and it's not uncommon with especially drug warrants, because the argument is that people could flush drugs, whatever. The only thing I can think of is that potentially there was alcohol present. Alcohol is the only thing I can think of where they wouldn't affect an arrest. But if it's a condition of his probation that he avoid
can't
alcohol,
be that they charged everyone in the house with disorderly house.
that's true.
So it's got to be something in the whole house, because it's not just an individual of him being on probation,
Right.
because everybody in the house was charged with disorderly
And
house.
if it was drug paraphernalia, then
It sounds
they
like
charge
they
him with
were
drug
like,
paraphernalia.
we used up a whole day and 12 officers had raided this house and came up empty-handed. Well, someone's coming to court for it.
It sounds that
Embarrassing
way. That's all I
otherwise.
can think about. It also could have been that usually people are pretty pissed off when you kick down their door.
Yeah.
And you don't.
And if you charge
especially
them
if
with something, it's
espe-
okay.
Well, no, especially if you don't find something. Like if you kick down their door and they're busted, they're usually more worried about the fact that they're busted. If you kick down their door and you don't find the drugs, they might have said they might not be very pleasant to you. So it's also possible that the officer just wasn't in a very good mood, even though he's the one who kicked in their door. But maybe he just didn't like one of the tenants. And I'm just speculating. I can't say that that's what happened. Seems like it's possible. I'm sure it has happened in certain circumstances.
Yes, yes.
Or maybe you're right. Maybe they were just like, we have to charge somebody with something because this looks
bad for us. Someone's coming to court. Well, Nick, while that story's got a lot to speculate about, this is one that's clear-cut. It's right from the bureaucrat's mouth. They're telling us what's going on. Yes, this story was pretty much written by a government official. One of those, they type off one of their government love things and send it to the local press, and the press just print it. This is one of those stories. The rewards of recycling and the penalties of not. That's been the city's mantra as officials have pushed recycling as a way to save dollars. Yes, the city mayor, Mr. Nutter, said the city can earn $25 a ton for the recyclables it takes to Blue Mountain Recycling in South Philadelphia. So, Mr. Nutter has ordered that the entire city of Philadelphia recycle, or else face discipline and fines in the tune of $50 per citation. Yes, anyone who doesn't put recyclables out in a recyclable container could get a $50 ticket. Such citations brought in $965,529 during the city's 2009 fiscal year, according to the Department of Streets. Recycling isn't particularly difficult, and it's the law, said Mr. Nutter. And it is especially important for the city of Philadelphia to recycle because 90% of garbage apparently is recyclable, but it's still going to the landfill. So there's going to be a crackdown. Anyone who doesn't put out a recycling bin on trash collection days is increasing the chances of getting ticketed because Philadelphia refuse can be inspected. That means they're going to dig through your trash, folks. Employees of the city's sweep team definitely will check your trash if they don't see recyclables. If an officer observes trash set out for collection but no recycling, said the Streets Department spokesman June Cantor, the officer will inspect the trash to determine if recyclables are mixed in with the trash and then cite you if they are. I love how these are officers who are conducting these. There's officers out in the street rummaging through garbage. They're paid pretty well for it, too.
They're probably looking for other things besides recyclables.
That's very true. What do you throw away? Streets and Walkways Education and Enforcement Program officers, let me say that again, SWEEP unit. Streets and Walkways Education and Enforcement Program officers are uniformed, unionized, carry badges, and city IDs, and start at $33,489. $33,489 annually for starters. That's not bad.
How much do they write in tickets?
Well, they have last year about $1 million in 2009. There are 50 sweep officers, and new officers will be coming through, go through 1 week of training only. That's how much. That's all the training it takes to become a sweep man.
$33,000 a year.
33 plus government benefits too, of course.
Well, that's the $33,000 a year is just the pay. Now, with the benefits,
I'm not a mathematician.
It's probably double.
Right, I'm not a mathematician, but you're saying you're doing this for money purposes, right? As well as education, of course. That's right in their title. About $1 million in citations with their 50 officers who are in the program. It's over $2 million in salary alone, not talking about benefits and pension and all that stuff. You're talking about...
Well, it's 1.5. 33 is over 1.5.
No, it's over 2.
With how much? 33,000?
30,
no, it's over 1.5.
33. Anyways, it's there.
30 times 50 is 100. Would be.
Yeah, but then you've got those other thousands too. They add up. Anyways, it's they're paying out in salary far more than they're getting back. So their math doesn't add up.
It's just in salary. Well, if you include the benefits and everything, they're probably paying out $4 million to collect less than one.
These people are given the job, Nick, of going around and writing people $50 a pop tickets. Yet somehow these useless bureaucrats can't figure a way to set up the program to make it break even. This program costs the city money.
Well, they could just do it.
It's not a revenue builder, Nick. That's what I thought when I read the article. And then it's like their math is wrong. They say they're doing this to make money and make people who don't recyclable pay for it, but they can't even write the tickets fast enough.
The cheaper and better way to do it, and I don't know if they were already doing this and they just weren't happy with the results, the way it's done around here with a recycling center is you can mix all your crap together and throw it away, and you pay for everything.
That's
glass,
what I do.
Plastic.
And I do it myself. I go to the dump.
Cardboard. You can throw it all in with all of the food scraps and stuff. And throw it away as household trash, but then you pay for it.
Yep.
If you separate out all the glass and the aluminum and the plastic, then it's cheaper.
Free.
Because that stuff's free.
Yeah, well,
they actually make money off of recycling, so they don't need to charge you to pick it up.
It pays for itself because they don't make much. $25 a ton isn't much. But it helps defer the costs. And that's how it's done here. It's amazing. All over the country, the cities are in charge of the garbage, Nick. There's bureaucrats who collect the waste. How could it be done otherwise? The world would crumble and people would die and garbage would be piled in the streets if we let private contractors be in charge of garbage. People wouldn't go to the dump anymore. The city of Philadelphia has to be in charge of this. And look at the situation they've gotten themselves in. They're hiring out millions of dollars for officers to go look through people's garbage who can't even break even with it. It's craziness. Here in New Hampshire, or at least in Keene, I don't know all parts of New Hampshire, if you want to hire someone to pick up your garbage, there's a number of different people you can call. You want a dumpster, you get a dumpster. You want to take your own trash to the dump, you take your trash to the dump.
Right.
And as you said, Nick, here in Keene, where we're broadcasting from, you have the option to recycle it for free or pay to throw it all in with household waste.
I mean, the dump, the transfer station itself, I shouldn't say, they don't like it when you say it's a dump. That's what I call it. It's a recycling center / dump. It's that city run, but the actual trash collection, there's more than one company you can use. It's not run by the city. You can haul it there yourself, imagine.
That's what I do. My car smells like a...
That's what people in the outlying towns do.
Smells like a trash can.
You don't usually get a truck. That's what trucks are for. People in the outlying towns do it too, because I mean.
I do recycle my grass
curbside
clippings
pickup
though, Nick. I gotta say that I recycle my grass clippings because they weigh so much.
I kind of wish they bring it back so you could.
It costs like $10 to throw away a bag of grass.
I kind of wish they'd bring back the trash burning outside though. Because that was legal up until like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I really want that.
It's common. I mean, it depends on what you're burning.
Yeah, the guy down my street used to burn plastic. It was like, oh, it's Wednesday. I guess I get to get a little lung cancer today. That's fine.
It's got to go somewhere, dude.
I like to burn it out in the ocean. Where
it depends on where you are.
Give it to the seagulls. Seagulls, they live off garbage, I think. So we keep on dumping it there. All right.
You've seen the stories about the big trash island in the Pacific, right?
When do we build? When do we say this is a country, Nick?
It's not a bad idea.
Anyways, recycling, it just goes to show we recycle more here in Keene when it's voluntary. People can volunteer to do it or not do it, opt in, opt out, and more recyclables are recycled here in Keene, not thrown in the garbage, than they are in Philadelphia, where it's a lot and you're going to get fined for it. Just goes to show which policy works, which policy doesn't. Maybe you're a nut who says, we need to recycle and the government should demand people recycle. Well, guess what? Those programs don't work out. You get a situation where 90% of the garbage that should be recycled isn't. Give it a voluntary solution like we have here, where we're broadcasting from, more recyclables. So, you know, interesting fact, Nick, type in recyclables to YouTube to get my B-roll footage. Keene, New Hampshire Recycling Center is the first one that pops up.
For recyclables?
No, yeah, you just type in recycling. And it's a dump! It's what it is.
On the YouTube?
Yeah. They got themselves a nice little video they made.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for Keene, I guess.
Anyways, we're out of time. Out of time again, Nick. Another episode has flown by. But you know what? Next episode, this is it. Say goodbye to Mr. Gaxton, Mr. Snakey Wakey. I don't like snakes anyways. I like the flag, but I don't like snakes. So I'm going to be happy to get this brand new set in here. It's going to look sexy. I'm sure you're going to like it a lot more. So tune in next week, especially. I mean, if you're only a once-in-a-while tuner-inner, next week's a good one to tune into because a sexy new set. Anyways, it has been Toby here with you.
And Nick.
freemindstv.com. Until next week, also the radio show, Sundays, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us for that. Take it easy.